So I'm not exactly sure why I'm doing the seventh grade one, but my theory is this. One, I really do like logic. And your child may not like logic yet, but I like logic enough that I actually wrote the eighth grade logic textbook that we're using. And so I do actually know the program pretty well and why we're doing it. And so what I want to do tonight is just going to give you a feel for a couple of things. One, what logic actually is, because the odds that you guys had taken logic yourself, I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm thinking are pretty slim. Right? Most people nowadays don't take logic in the first place. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact of why your kid is actually taking logic. So kind of define what it is, why we do it here, because we're kind of weird. Obviously, if you go to a typical public school or maybe even a typical Christian school, your kid may not take logic, but we do it here. I want to talk about why your kid might be struggling at this point in time. All right, and then I want to give you then a feel for what we've done and what we've put in place to help your kids succeed so that you and I can partner together for the success of your child. And then the last thing I want to do is give you a really quick kind of mile-high view of what the year looks like. And when I'm all done with that, I will put this paper in your hands. But as any good teacher knows, if I put this in your hands right now, you probably would be looking at this instead of paying attention to me. So I'm going to keep you waiting for this. So sorry. All right, so first we start off what logic is. Well, it is a 2-year course in the science of right thinking, the formation of strong arguments, and the defense against bad arguments. So we are in the process of trying to train your kid to think, well, rightly, which I don't know about you, but if you read or watch the news, you know, we are in desperate need of people who think rightly. And so that's what we do as far as that. So it is, but it's a 2-year course. And so it's not just 7th grade. So while you might be thinking that my kid has never done anything like this is really tough, okay? When they get into 8th grade, we kind of bring it all home. We talk about lots of different forms of argument, and it all goes together. Everything feeds in together. So if I were you, and again, if you've never learned it before, I might be asking the question, okay, why is my kid learning this in the first place? I mean, some things seem obvious, right? Why is my kid learning writing? Well, because they need to learn how to write. Why is my kid learning math? Well, because it's important. It's an everyday skill. You know, why is my kid learning science? Because, well, there's a certain basic things we should all know with regards to science. And then we get to this kind of person in the corner, why do we learn logic? Okay, well, good question. First of all, you need to know that you've made a choice to come here, and with that came this model. And sitting at the core of the middle school part of that is logic. It sits as part of the classical model for education, right at the center of it. Secondly, part of our job is the training in appetites, the training in what your child ought to love. And I think you would agree. You want your child to love to think rightly. We want that. We want them to want to think rightly. Well, that doesn't happen by accident. So either you're going to do that at home, working really hard against what is out there in the culture, or you've paid us to do that training, part of that training for you. In addition, it's a training on how to argue well. There's not a middle school parent I've ever talked to who doesn't know very well that your child is in the habit of arguing. Okay, it's like a superpower at this age. Okay, which it only grows. Okay, they learn how they come by it naturally. I have to warn you, our job is to train them how to do that better, which sometimes doesn't work in your favor, and sometimes it does work in your favor. The long-term goal is good. You need to trust me at that. And as I mentioned, it's at the core of what we do in middle school. To that extent, just to give you a feel for the fact that that is the case, in Bible, this is going to show up in recognizing terms and the conclusions that are drawn by arguments that are made by the writers in the text. In writing, so in Mr. Woolery's class, okay, he's going to want them to be able to defend their subproofs and their proofs. That only comes with a really good set of thinking skills, which logic is at the core of. Mr. Woolery also teaches grammar. In logic, we talk about subjects and predicates and copulates and making sure that we know what we're talking about, making sure we know what we're saying about what we're talking about. This whole thing about sentence structure, it backs that up as well. Latin. Okay, your kids are taking Latin. The fact is your kids know more about Latin than I do. They talk about sentence structure and predicates and subjects and all these other different types of things. Logic backs that up as well. Science. Okay, your children and myself, we actually use logic to build arguments for why certain things happen. I want them to be able to think well, so this sits at the core of that as well. Literature. Often learn literature classes. Okay, sometimes literature classes are just about story. Not here. Here, cause and effect. Why did so-and-so do such and such? Was that a wise choice? Well, we need to be able to build an argument one way or the other, and that's going to be based upon logical principles. Well, they're not going to learn that by accident. So they're going to be backed up in their literature classes. History class. History class is the study of choices and consequences. This person did this, it led to this. Okay, what can you do to avoid that? And so we're going to train them in different styles of argumentation, okay, so they can be able to defend a choice, for example, that happened in history. So again, it sits at the core of what we do in middle school. That being said, okay, if I were you and I'm sitting there and I get that, I agree, that Ren Web report, and I'm thinking, holy smokes, okay, what? Wait, I've never seen this grade before for my kid. And all they did was get was A's and B's, and all of a sudden they're not? What is up with that? Okay, I think it's important you take a step back, and I agree with what Sarah said. You take a step back and you just kind of pause for a moment. It's important you realize that in grammar school, your children had history class. They have history now. There's a common language there. They had Latin class, and there's a common language. They have Latin now. They step right into that. They had math class. There's a common language between the math class they had last time and the math class they have now. No big surprises. Even in my science class, there's a certain terminology that goes along with science so that while it's different, it's also the same. So there's a common language that's there. They've never had anything like logic. It's brand new. You need to know that. And often with those brand new things, I think you and I would agree that even for us as adults, that those brand new things, they kind of catch us off guard sometimes. All right. Well, your children are being exposed to, for brand new whole grade, first of all, 2 male teachers. They've never had a male teacher before. And we're kind of different. All right. We have high expectations, and we are just we're not the same as what they've had before. All right. There's the moving around for classes. And then again, circling back, you have logic. This odd class we've never had. We don't speak the same language. So we would ask you just take a deep breath, be patient. It will come around, I promise. It will, all right? Everything else that's new, and I would argue this too. If your kid is struggling, they may not actually be using the tools we've already put in place for their success. I appreciate Mrs. Vincent's comment about the fact that we really do love your children. If you've talked with them at all, okay, we dearly love them. We have a ridiculously fun time in class. I mean, I tell my kids often, I feel guilty sometimes because I get paid to do what I get paid to do, what I get to do. And honestly, it's the best job in the world, right? So we love them dearly, and so as part of that, we give them tools for success. But if your child is not using some of those tools for success, they're working against you and I in that. So I want to go through and talk about how you and I can work together. And I say you and I, Mr. Woolery is the other logic teacher. So be aware that this class is designed for success. Prior to every test, at least a week in advance, your child is being given an objective sheet. It's not a study guide though. In the past, they may have been given a study guide where we fill in the blanks and we just study the blanks and we put that back out on a piece of paper. Logic's not like that though. Logic is a skill. Logic is a skill you have to practice. And so objective sheets are little boxes that you tick off and you say, do I know how to do this? Do I understand what this is? Can I practice this? And they're tied directly to the homework there and to things that we know we're going to build upon in the future. So we give that to a child to help focus their study efforts because we recognize brand new 7th graders, they don't have a clue about how to study for the most part. There's a rare middle schooler that knows how to use their time well in studying. So we provide them this tool so they can sit down. Again, they have a week's time, sit down, and they can go through. Do I know how to do this? Can I practice this? There are at the bottom of every objective sheet sample problems for what might be like on a test. With the intent being, okay, if you've never seen a question like this before, here's what this is going to look like on a test. So again, so they're not caught off guard the first time they see that on a test. Oh yeah, I see this. This is just like the objective sheet. And it produces then this idea of ease and comfort rather than, never saw this, anxiety, heart, okay, and then they freak out, the brain goes into junk parts, and the next thing you know, they haven't filled out half the test. And you're like, wait, what? But I thought I knew it. Well, this helps to focus those efforts, okay? A test design. You need to know that Mr. Woolery and I, okay, we seek to make sure that every test is somewhere between 60 and 70% review. That means that when your kid sits down and takes a test, 60 to 70% of what is on that current test, they've actually already seen before on the previous material. Now, there's a point behind that. This is not your typical class because we know how core and integral it is. Okay? It has to be done for mastery. So they're going to see the same questions over and over and over and over again. We're going to practice the same skills over and over and over and over again. So that by the time we're done with you in a 2-year period, you have a very solid foundation for logic and how to think is the idea. Now you might be wondering, well, how will they know what that 60 to 70% is that's on the next test? It's in the objective sheet. Because as the year progresses, there's simply too much. So that helps to focus their time. That, along with the fact that if they take a look at their last or their previous tests, they can compare what's on the objective sheet with the previous tests, and now they can anticipate up to 70% of what's going to be on the next test. They already know it. It's already right there in front of them. Mr. Woolery and I make certain that your students have the correct answers for the tests. So they basically have a filled out study guide for them of multiple tests. We encourage them, don't throw away any test. They're 3-hole punch on purpose. Put them in your binder so they're there from which to study in the future. In addition, anything that's brand new that would show up that would also be on that objective sheet, those questions are designed the same way they would see it in a homework problem. So again, one more time, nothing new. They're just seeing it over and over and over and over again. Now, I will tell you, some kids do ask for help. And if they do, all right, we are more than happy to help them. They can come to us during study halls. All right, I've had lots of kids come in for study halls on Wednesdays or Fridays. All right. In addition, they're able to call us and ask for help. I know for myself, they can call me Monday through Saturday up till 10 o'clock at night. I will answer any question they have with regards to science or logic, right? And I will not let them off the phone until I know for certain that they have everything they need for success. You need to know that. So if your child has called me, you already know that that's the case. I'll always ask them, okay, what else can I do for you? What else can I do for you? Okay, nope, I'm good, Mr. Barron. Okay, talk to you later, click. I'm not sure what your availability is on that.
I've got the Logic Bat phone. It's 24
The Logic Bat phone, 24 hours. His is the Logic Bat phone, 24 hours a day, all right? Not me. I take Sundays off, so.
Every day up till 10 for me.
There you go, every day up till 10. So asking for help is key for that as well then. So let me go back there. So how you and I can partner then. It's important you just know how the class is designed. That's the primary thing. Knowing that they get an objective sheet, a new one, every 2 weeks, because they have a test every 2 weeks. You can then ask for that objective sheet, all right? Hey, show me your objective sheet. And you can just ask a couple of questions. Hey, tell me how to do this. Show me how to do this. Now, you might be that parent who says, well, I don't know if they're giving me the right answer. That's okay. That's okay. If you want to, call us. Mr. Barron, my child said such and such. Is that right? Okay. We'll help you too. You can call us Monday through Saturday up till 10 o'clock or back phone time. Okay, we're happy to help you as well, so you don't think your child is just snowing you with the answer. We're happy to help you as well. Okay, you're not on your own. Really, we want we want your child first and you to be successful as well.
Well, and the objective sheet does have answers on it too.
Right, for the sample questions on the back side of every objective sheet, are not just the answers, but often too why the answer is the way that it is, so that you're not left again without any helps. We want to partner with you. That's what we've committed to do, partner with you for success. Very quickly, kind of a mile-high view of the program. So this sits at the beginning of the introductory chapter. Your child has already had this in 3 separate homework assignments, this very problem, for them to fill in this chart. And there's a reason for that, and they'll have it again and again and again. This is the logic program in, 8 words. There are 3 big ideas for 7th grade logic. Simple apprehension, judgment, deductive inference. Those are things that happen here. But as soon as they come out of my mouth or on a piece of paper, they turn into term, proposition, syllogism. Every one of those things has things that we study. All right? So there are different parts, for example, to simple apprehension. There are different ways of looking or understanding term. And that's the logic program in a nutshell. So if you're wondering, okay, how does that help me? Tell me, son, daughter, about term. Okay, what are the parts of term? What are the properties of term? You could open up their textbook. This is their text. Okay? And you can ask them questions. You can just basic definitions. Now, our children, unfortunately, are not allowed to write on our texts. So they've been instructed to use Post-it notes. We as teachers, we do the same thing, right? Same homework. Right? The intent being, okay, you could go through and you can ask them simple questions. Hey, help me out. What does it mean? What does signification mean? Well, if you know right away, if your child cannot tell you a basic bolded word from here, we've got a problem. So that's a way you and I can partner. In which case, let us know. Okay, my cat has no idea what supposition is, Mr. Barron. Okay, well, we may not have covered that yet, just so you know. Right? But you can be asking those questions. We have a syllabus. You can follow along that syllabus. Be asking the questions. But again, if you feel like your child is really weak in an area, have them give us a call. All right? Or you give us a call and we can help you as well. But that gives you a feel for that. Our end goal, just so we're clear, that end goal is the syllogism. So at the end of this year, your children will be writing 3-line arguments, being able to test whether they're valid, meaning does the conclusion follow from the premises up here. The fact is, honestly, they'll have better tools, I'm embarrassed to say this, than many politicians. Honestly, they really, really will. And they may have a better set of tools than what you grew up with. So, if there's a way we can help you, though, beyond what we've already done, we are more than happy that we're all ears to be able to help to know what that is. So that being said, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Any questions about logic? I've either bored you to tears or you feel like you have everything you need to know. Yes? Yes.
If your child or children is one that is struggling so
Yes.
far, and I'm assuming this is a building block,
Yes.
is all hope lost? Or
Oh, no. Great question. So first off, you need to understand, it's a 2-year program. We are constantly reviewing. Right? So the likelihood of your child being lost at the end, extremely unlikely. Because again, because every test is approximately 60 to 70% review, we're reviewing all the time. Our class is not linear, meaning from point A to point Z. Okay, we're going back. Because we're always picking up. There's always a kid at some point in time. They'll say it's second quarter. It's like, oh, I never got that because it took 15 times, okay, and maybe 15 different ways to say that same thing, and for whatever reason, it never caught. But now today it does. Okay, very important you know that. But no, we're not linear in this. We're always reviewing, always going back. Because we recognize, you're right, that it's a foundational thing, so we can't afford to simply leave anybody behind. We're always going back.
Can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
The homework as well is assigned in 2 parts. So we'll read the entire chapter, discuss it, and the assignments are given on various problems throughout the whole chapter. We come back, we grade that, we discuss it, and then we assign more problems taken throughout the whole chapter. So they're getting the same or similar problems doing the same thing twice in one chapter. So they have a chance to do it, discuss it, learn what they did wrong, or reinforce what they did right, and do more on it. So we're actually hitting it twice rather than just plowing it.
Right, so Mr. Woolery and I, in an effort to reduce homework, so you might be feeling like your kid's got a lot of homework, you need to know. Sorry. We sat down before the school year started, okay, and we chose specific homework questions. Because if you take a look at their workbook, we're assigning actually less than half of the workbook. Please know that. 8 questions max per homework time. Okay? The majority of them tied directly, but you can find the answers directly in the book, the workbook. Okay? But the idea being, yeah, you're right. It's an overview first, and we go back, and it's an overview again. So we're not leaving anything behind. We're constantly recycling, going back and back and back and back. Because we recognize, well, even as adults, I don't think I'm the only person that's like this. I have to hear things 3 and 4 times sometimes before I get them. I mean, your children are no different that way. So if I have to, and you probably do too, your children probably do as well. Yes?
So for some of the parents whose children might be struggling with some of this, I wanted to advocate on behalf of both the teachers that how much they care. We came into the school last year, we were a new family, and our oldest son came in the 8th grade, and he had not had any exposure to any of this, and he was way out over his skis. He was beyond frustrated, embarrassed, disappointed in himself, a lot of self-doubt, but through a lot of patience and a lot of hard work and a lot of encouragement, he was able to develop a certain level of mastery that gave him confidence that I've never seen in the school as a result of just the patience and the diligence of just sticking at it. Yeah, I got a one-legged A.
Yep.
And I got another one, and I got another one, and I got another one. But the number went up.
Yep.
And by the end of the year, again, I'm just trying to provide encouragement.
Right, and he did not have the benefit that your children have in 7th grade. He missed the entire year of 7th grade logic.
And the first half of the first.
And the first half of 8th grade. Yeah, so, other questions? Okay. Well, please note, your children have my phone number. They are allowed to call me, just in case you're wondering if they were telling you the truth. Monday through Saturday up till 10 o'clock at night. It is my pleasure to help them. It truly, truly is. All right, and I think I'm done then. My pleasure.